Hey everybody, KC here. So I was reading a piece in the Los Angeles Times the other day by Michael Hitzlick, who's one of their business columnists. Pretty good business columnist, I think. And he was writing about how Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid tried to take over healthcare and failed. And I think for the most part he gets it right, but I do think there's a big piece of it that he missed. So he starts out by talking about how there was a time in the misty rose-hued past when the three big drugstore chains looked poised to take over the American healthcare system. CVS and Aetna announced a $69 billion merger. Walgreens made a $5.2 billion investment in Village MD and took a $330 million stake in home care provider CareCentrix, giving it control of both firms. Rite Aid wasn't so aggressive on that stuff, but it was expanding for a time. Not expanding now. We know about that. And he writes that the companies talked about evolving into one-stop medical providers so that patients discharged from the hospital will be able to stop at a health hub location to access services such as medication evaluations, home monitoring, and use of durable medical equipment as needed. But what they have discovered is that taking a larger role in the healthcare system is different than just dispensing prescriptions and selling over-the-counter notions. It's really, really complicated. And basically what he says is, listen, they've all sort of backed off a little bit. It's a work in progress. They're closing some stores. They're right-sizing expenses. Rite Aid's in bankruptcy. And by the way, even Amazon found out how difficult it was to really get a significant position in the healthcare business. Talk about a work in progress. But here's the thing. In the case of Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid, I think what the real problem is that for the most part, they're crappy retailers that have lost touch with what should be their basic value proposition, what their core value proposition. They've completely lost touch with it. There's so much junk in their stores and so much clutter and so many convenience items that I suspect convenience stores worry about them being a competitor as opposed to other formats. Those drugstores are largely boring. There's no narrative, no real connection to health. They're understaffed, especially at the pharmacy counter. And some of this isn't their fault, but customers don't care about that. They don't care whose fault it is. They just recognize the problems. And like so many retailers, these drugstores have found themselves in a position where virtually everything they're selling can be bought someplace else, including online, which does not put them in an enviable competitive position. That's why they're getting into healthcare. They're lousy retailers and they weren't able to compete at that level, so they decided to do something else. I just don't think it speaks well for what they're going to do in healthcare. Look, I'm not saying they're done by any means, although I'm not sure I'd invest any money in Rite Aid. There's always room for bottom feeders, but that's what I think a lot of these drug chains and their stores have become. But until and unless they get people who are able to build and run stores that capture people's imaginations, that are a resource for people as well as being a source of product, and they don't make you look for the exit as soon as you walk in the front door, well, I sure as hell wouldn't trust them with any of my healthcare needs beyond maybe picking up a prescription, and I'm going to my local pharmacy because we happen to have one when we're lucky. I don't care who these companies buy or who they merge with or who they team up with. I don't care. Their DNA is not going to change. And right now, the DNA of companies like CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid, it is not very impressive. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.